All right, so to embrace transformation, what does that mean? What does that really mean to embrace transformation? And we've talked about change before. We talk about it a lot, that change is the only constant in the universe. But in this book, Lynn talks about it as change is fundamentally different than transformation. For change is what you do when you want to change a thing, when you want to change something that is bothering you or you're tired of or that isn't working. You make a change and you switch out something else. But transformation is an inside job that doesn't make what has been wrong. Bayard Ruskin said it this way: when an individual is protesting society's refusal to acknowledge his dignity as a human being, his very act of protest confers dignity upon him. So we are transforming what is into what it could be, what it should be, by standing up and saying, no, let's transform this into something else. We acknowledge what has come before us, and we celebrate what is yet to be. Lynn Twist in her book says it this way: transformation is a complete and total shift in the nature and the dynamics of what's happening. When you set out to make change in the world, you aim to make it less, make it more, different, or better. Transformation, however, creates something new. And we can look at the examples of our own life to understand how that can work, right? So for many of you, you know that my mother made her transition on December 28th. She made her transition from this life to the next. And in that transformation, I feel sadness, but I'm also really happy for the life I had with her. And while I can express and feel my sadness, I also, at the same moment, can feel an inner transformation of joy that Mom is no longer chained to a body and a mind that didn't work for her. And I can celebrate that she's free. The only thing that is different is what I'm bringing to it. So think of someone that you mourn, that you've lost, that you care for, a pet, a relative, a parent, a child. And understand that as we celebrate our love for them and the time we had with them, we are changing and transforming what is to what it can be. And isn't that what we want to bring forward? The transformation in that? How many people have been through a breakup or divorce? How many people have come out the other end of a breakup or divorce, right? And sometimes in hindsight, when we have gotten enough distance, and sometimes almost immediately, we can see that we're better off because of the breakup and the divorce. Again, my parents are were much better separate than they were together, right? And the kids could see it, but the parents couldn't at the time. That they were better as separate parents to us than as a couple parenting us. And notice it in your life, how that transformation of you on the inside made all the difference for what you're seeing on the outside, right? And sometimes that's the same with jobs, right? That we're stuck in a job and we feel stuck and we act angry. But when we can understand a larger truth about the role, about the job, about how it's not ours, it's just something that's passing through our life. You are not your job. I'll say that again. You are not your job. Your purpose is larger than any job you may fill. Your purpose is something that is appointed by the divine and that you're here on this planet to do with your whole life, not just 8 to 5, not just for a part-time job or a full-time job. You're here to live out a transformed purpose so that the life and the world is transformed. Lynn talks also about this. Transformation is a way to shift the world we see to the world that allows us to accept, embrace, and even celebrate what has occurred, right? Even celebrating. That's radical. I'm going to give hands up to Lynn, because in her really nice Midwestern way, she's a radical broad, right? She's so sweet. She sat here 3 weeks ago. You saw how nice and warm and fuzzy she is. But she's telling you that no matter what has transpired, all the injustice in the world, all the pain, all the degradation, all the hurt, all of it, we can transform with a deeper spiritual understanding. And when we shift what we think about it, we can even embrace what has happened. And she gives examples of it, but I want to start with this one, because I think it's really important that we understand that we are the ones who are stuck. Those of us who are over 37, there's a whole group in the back there that are just in their 20s. Those of us who are older than the 20-year-olds in the back and the 37-year-olds and the 40-year-olds have gotten calcified in our beliefs, calcified in what we think should be and how it should be. And I know this because I am, right? And I know it because I listen to you all. And we all think that it should be different. If only they would do it differently. Lynn talks in the book about meeting Buckminster Fuller and then having a dinner with him, where her daughter said something at the dinner table that blew their minds. And Bucky said to her, never forget that your children are your elders in universe time. They've come into a more complete, more evolved universe that you can never understand except through their eyes. I know those of us who are parents and grandparents have seen that our children teach us the lessons all the time. The children point out to us where we are calcified, where we are rigid, where we're hypocritical, where we're not matching what we say we believe in, not doing what we tell them to do. And the children come into this world with an infinite mindset and possibility, and we are the ones who are limiting them. But they come into a different universe than we were born into. And if we want to have a different experience, we have to, as Jesus in the Gospels teaches us, become like the little children if we want to enter the kingdom of heaven. That means we must let go of this adult, this is the way it is, mind step, and step into the infinite possibility of a child's mind. The loving, infinite possibility of youth, of possibility. That doesn't mean that these children and our elders in universal time don't see the BS in the world. They totally see all the BS we've created, and they are here to change it. Let me give you some examples. Malala Yousafzai was born in 1997. Her father was an activist for education for women. She lived in Pakistan, in a section of Pakistan controlled by the Taliban. And she was a vocal advocate, her and her father, for the education of women. Until one day when she boarded the bus after school, when she was 15 years old, so a gunman jumped on the bus and says, "Who is Malala? Who is Malala?" And shot her in the head, also injuring 2 other children on the bus. She survived miraculously, and she was whisked away to England, where she spent years in rehab, years learning how to speak, talk, and walk again. And when she could, she got up and she started advocating once again. She is the living example of the Bayard Ruskin quote that do not let fear stop you from speaking your truth, right? She started a foundation. How many 20-year-olds have started a foundation for the education of women? She would not accept what is the status quo and moved into something greater. She would not accept the limitation and said there is more to do. She is now the face, the scarred face of infinite possibility and about the education and the lifting up of all of us, calling us up to something higher, right? 1. 2, Greta Thunberg. Talk about not letting us live in the BS, right? At 8 years old, she was taught in her classroom in Sweden, she was taught about climate change. And she was outraged that no one was doing anything. But she also went into a severe depression and was later diagnosed as being on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. Her parents were totally against her becoming an activist, but at 15, she started skipping school and standing outside of the Swedish parliament that's saying, students for climate, students for climate. And then she was invited to speak at the UN Global Conference on climate change, where she blew the whole audience away and started a worldwide movement for Fridays for Our Future, with students dropping out of classes on Friday and protesting climate change. She is in your face about what she stands for and what we should all be standing for. Again, 20-something years old. Right? Our elders in universe time. Amanda Gorman was raised by a single mom, a 6th grade teacher in Los Angeles, one of 3 children. And she was born with a speech impediment and a hearing impediment. She was not able to take in sounds accurately or to recreate them. So do you know what she did as part of her vocal training to be able to become articulate and speak? She sang Hamilton. She sang the score of Hamilton so she could enunciate all the R's. Aaron Burr, sir, right? And she transformed the world when she became the youngest poet laureate ever to give an inauguration speech. Here she is giving that speech, wowing the world. And everything about her was transformational. Her hair, her headpiece, her clothes was all screaming, wake up, we're here. Malala is a poet laureate, the youngest Nobel Prize winner in the world. This was the youngest ever poet laureate at an inauguration. Amanda talks about what she does to prepare herself to get up and give a speech, to give a talk in front of a group like this. And this is the quote she says. I am the daughter of black writers. We're descended from freedom fighters who broke through the chains and changed the world. They call me. That is standing in your dominion. That is standing in your authority and standing up and saying, this is what I am here to do. I am here to show the way. Never forget your children, those are all of our children, are our elders in universe time. They've come into a more complete, more evolved universe than you can ever understand except through their eyes. So wake up, take a look. This is the transformation we need to embrace. This is the transformation we need to become. And Lynn in her book says, if you cannot be an activist, support one. If you, in your life, you feel you can't do it, but I would argue there are no limitations. You can be an activist. Whether you're 80 or 15, you can be an activist. Stand up and make a difference in the world, because the world needs us to wake up, to get up, and to do better. Wake up to the pain and the problems that we have caused. Acknowledge that we are the ones who need to be transformed at core, and then go about becoming the goo and then the butterfly. To take to the wings and fly higher than we've ever known possible. To use transformation and use the stories of these remarkable young women to say, what the hell do I have to complain about? My little petty grievances and worries that the universe isn't providing me everything I need pales into what these young women live through, have come through, and shine their light. So it's up to us. We can never forget the truth that we were put here, and each and every one of us was once that child in universal time. We were the innocent one filled with the possibilities of what could be. We were the ones who saw things clearly, and we've calcified ourselves. We've gotten stuck in can't, mortgage, bills, family. If we can let go of those shackles, unchain ourselves from the can'ts, we can live into the infinite possibility of what we're really here to do, who we're really here to be. Let's take that into our time of meditation.